Welcome to All About Stocks. You're watching ET Now. This is a very exciting show for me this week. We bring you a brand new segment. Starting this week, each of our guests is going to design one portfolio for you. Each guest will assemble and manage a portfolio, everything from risk management to allocation of your money. Once a month, we will revisit each of these portfolios to assess its performance and to make changes. Now, what does this mean? It means we've done all the homework for you. These are ready-made portfolios backed with strong research that you can pick up and use for your money. And you can come back week on week to track it. For the first time on television, we're also going to make each guest accountable for their recommendations. And through this segment, we will safeguard your money. There is an email ID at the bottom of your screen where you can send in any question you have about your stocks. You can also find this show on our Facebook page. Let's kick off the week. Joining us now is Prakash Diwan, Chief Portfolio Strategist at the Wealth Circle. Prakash, thank you so much for spending time with us. This week, we're going to start with Prakash's portfolio. Prakash has designed a portfolio for a beginner with a high-risk appetite and, of course, a very long-term horizon. He's assuming you have about 10,000 rupees to start your investment with. These are the stocks he's picked out for you. Cain India, ING Vysya Bank, Coal India, HCL Tech, ITC, Cipla, Mahindra & Mahindra and Tata Steel. Prakash, to start off with this mixture of stocks that you've brought to us, why does it make sense for someone who's just starting off?
Well, interesting attempt that you are putting in, and what I wanted to do is make sure that there's a balance between large cap and mid cap stocks. So it's predominantly large cap. Whereas for a beginner, it's better to kind of have a portfolio that's very stable and that doesn't kind of keep on moving up and down because of volatility in the market. Now that could upset the beginner who's just kind of starting to invest. And as the investor goes along, adds more money, you could kind of pad up these positions very easily, because these are stocks which are not in flavor just for a month or a quarter or a year. You could actually hold on. And if you see, the diversification is across sectors. I mean, I've tried covering most of the sectors that look promising for, for the economy as a whole and for the market for the next few years. So you have something from autos, you have something from energy, you have something from FMCG, something from pharma. Everything's kind of, very well balanced. And for a beginner, it makes sense to have an open and, a portfolio that's like fill it and shut it kinds, So you really don't have to watch this every day.
So tell me something. If I'm a beginner, you're saying this is for someone who's just starting off. I don't have any stocks in my portfolio. This is my first set of stocks. You've said start with 10,000 rupees. Why 10,000 rupees? You're just taking a benchmark?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think to begin investing into markets,
you need a lot of money,
at least in lakhs and, crores. But honestly, even 10,000 is good enough thanks to the fact that you can hold even one share at the minimum. So, you need diversification, you need to follow discipline, but you don't need tons of money to start off. So, this is truly in the sense of a beginner's portfolio where you could start putting aside 10,000 in the right stocks and just add on.
Okay, and you've allocated a slightly higher amount to Cain India, to HCL Tech, to ITC and Tata Steel.
Right.
Why more money to these stocks as opposed to the other four?
See, when the portfolio gets constructed, you need to look at valuations and the weightages both. Now, from a valuation perspective, I believe that these four stocks are comparably available at much more lower valuation than the intrinsic value. So, to me, Cain India is something that should be 400 plus, and I've gone on record on this show talking about it as well. So, intrinsically it delivers much better return. The same way, if you look at a Tata Steel, I mean, it's bottomed out at these levels, it has a much better upside. So I would rather capture that upside potential because at the end of the day, it's wealth creation and not just defensive, nature of a portfolio. Whereas the rest of the stocks are promising enough, but they're fairly valued. So I wouldn't kind of put too much money at this stage.
Okay, so also tell us about the time horizon. I'm just starting off. I'm starting with this portfolio that you've recommended to us, that you're putting your name against. How long should I be holding on to these stocks? Should I get nervous at all if the market has a cut?
No, not really, not really. In fact, the way I see it is this becomes part of a core portfolio and could run into years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and you keep on building a portfolio around these 8, 10 stocks. Either you add to these stocks or add stocks to this portfolio, as you go along. But the whole idea is these are market leaders or the ones which are promising to be future market leaders in their respective sectors, and it pays to be associated with market leaders when you're beginning, so that you could ride along with the growth that these companies could kind of provide.
Okay, a couple of stocks we've already talked about on this show. I remember we talked about Cain India, we've talked about Coal India. I want to ask you about ING Vysya Bank.
Yeah.
Is it the best banking option available to us today?
I believe it's one of the fastest growing banks. Secondly, it's also likely to get dramatically different in terms of scale. So it's right now a mid-cap bank. But you've seen what happened to UTI when it became Axis. So it becomes a large cap bank and it becomes a frontline. With the market capitalization going up, with ING putting in money into even its insurance business in India, this will scale up in a significant way. And I believe it's one of the cleanest banks today in that scale. So I would go with something which has enough headroom to catch up.
My other question to you is ITC.
Yeah.
Now, in the long term, and ITC is already a very large company, how much do you expect it to grow?
ITC as an FMCG non-tobacco player in India is a very recent phenomenon. I mean, that's happened when they introduced themselves to the food and the personal and healthcare businesses. Now, these are very nascent businesses for ITC at this point, and I believe if they scale up the food business, which is huge for India, the packaged food business, ITC could actually be 3 times of what it is today in the next 5 years.
Okay, one more very quick question. Tata Steel. Now, the metal sector has not been doing very well, but you've still included Tata Steel in your portfolio. Why is that?
That's true. I believe, the metal sector has not done well thanks to the slowdown in China primarily, and particularly ferrous. So what happens is when the turnaround happens, and if the Chinese government starts its capex aggression, in January with the new government coming in, steel is the first commodity that's going to see an uptick. And Tata Steel, you've seen it kind of bottom out at these 360 kind of levels recently, and it's taken a U-turn of sorts. And I think the kind of capacities that they have, the advantage of cost that they have, they'll be very soon global leaders, in the next few years. So I think Tata Steel is undervalued, and it could fetch you very decent gains.
Give us an idea of how many stocks ideally a retail investor should have, considering that I'm going to have to manage all of these stocks and track them. What should be a good number?
Ideally, you should never exceed 5% of the portfolio, which means you can now have more than 20 stocks. It's like 20 is a decent number if you had a peak of 5% for all the stocks that's kind of in the portfolio. Because beyond that, your risk management becomes difficult. And if possible, you need to look at, part of the portfolio is that core portfolio which you don't want to sell out or don't want to average out and trade on much. And part of the portfolio is opportunistic. And that could be about 25% of your overall portfolio, which could be, fast moving mid-caps, multi-bagger, potential multi-baggers, which I have not added. These are not multi-baggers that we are talking about.
So this is the core that we're going to be adding to.
I don't expect Cain India to become $1,200 in 3 years, but you could have a multi-bagger which you could later on add to the portfolio once your core is done. So this is more like your bread and butter, and then you add all your all the other replenishment around. But right now you would have to look at a core to begin with.
You start with only 10,000 rupees. I'm going to give you a recap of the stocks in this portfolio. Cain India, ING Vysya Bank, Coal India, HCL Tech, ITC, Cipla, Mahindra and Mahindra, and Tata Steel. Now, we will be revisiting this portfolio once a month to check how it's doing on that 10,000 rupees that we've invested in this portfolio. We'll make changes if it needs changes, and we'll add stocks if it needs stocks. Prakash, thank you so much for bringing us that portfolio. That's our first portfolio on All About Stocks. I think we have time on this segment. My producer tells me to answer a couple of questions. Let's pull up one. Abhay Jain has written in. He wants to know if he can buy Voltas with a long-term horizon. Now, Voltas is currently at 108 rupees. Would you say it makes sense on the long-term horizon?
Voltas has its share of issues, especially in the Gulf. They've run into a lot of time and cost overruns. But there are better stocks. Voltas is not something that is extremely promising.
The Sensex past 19,000. Now we're hearing the fact that the new resistance level for the Nifty will be 6,000. There are some voices that are saying 6,600 on the Nifty by the end of next year. Now, while that sounds optimistic, tell me what you think, and tell me what you think we should be doing with our stocks at this point.
Well, what's changed is the sentiment. The reasons why people are buying into markets has changed, and that's a very positive sign. You have suddenly the government which promised reforms. Markets went up, market paused, took a look at what the government was doing. Finally, the government seems to be getting into control of doing things and getting actioned out, all those good things that they spoke about. Secondly, you have...
Tell me something, when we're talking about this, and we've had so many conversations, you and I, on this very show for the last 1 year,
Right.
where every time something positive came out of Delhi, the market ran up. Every time it hit a roadblock, the market came down.
True.
So as a retail investor, if I'm putting my money in now for the next 5 or 10 years at least,
Right.
should I even care about these little ups and downs that happen through the
Absolutely
year?
not. And that's exactly what we keep on talking about, saying long-term evens out all these ups and downs. You cannot control what the government is likely to do and which government is going to come and do this. So you need to look at the broader picture, and which is India is a growing economy. You have good companies therein. You buy them at the right price and you wait for the right levels and the right time. So the whole point is you need to be disciplined with what you want to select, what you want to buy, and that's what portfolio building is all about. It's
You know,
got
I
nothing
have
to do with
another
this.
very quick question for you. We have a lot of stocks in the market right now that either mirror the economy or are umbrella stocks for a lot of different sectors, like Aditya Birla Nuvo, for example.
Right.
So instead of, and we know, as you know, as people who've been talking to investors, and we know a lot of investors get very excited when they hear about reform. So I want to get into the retail sector, I want to get into banking because I see banking and insurance reforms coming. Can you name a couple of stocks that we can use to sort of get our foot into these sectors but not completely put ourselves at risk?
You know, see, you cannot change the macro risk levels for the country or the economy as a whole. But what you can do is make sure that you buy into a company that is on its own less riskier, which is strong enough to, which has cash rich, which has positive cash flows, which has got experience, which has a great management, you know, stuff like that. So you want to buy a bank, go ahead and buy an Axis or an ICICI bank. Retail, you could, you know, we don't really have much of a great available opportunity. The best I see is Trent, because they've got formats which are across the board. You know, you've got Westside, you've got Chroma, you've got Star Bazaar, which is a huge, bouquet of services which others don't have.
And from the Tata Group as well.
And pedigree as well. So you could look at that, and that's exactly why Trent has never come down, irrespective of what happens to this thing. You know, ever since it's crossed that 1,000 mark, it's just been there.
A couple of stocks we must talk about as well on this show. GMR Infrastructure stock hit a 52-week low. Take a look at that chart as the Maldives government scrapped the airport project. Now, what should investors who are holding this stock be doing right now?
You know, there could be some mitigation of this disappointment by some arbitration, which could probably help GMR get some, recover some losses. But I don't expect GMR to completely fold up and close down because of this, but it's a huge setback in terms of cash flows for the company. So if that arbitration is not favorable, it'll take much longer for it to get out of that negative mess.
So if I hold GMR right now, as the story broke, should I continue to hold it and wait for some time?
Yes, I don't see much further downside at least. So, you know, the downside already kind of impacted the stock, and there could only be some positive upside if there is.
The other stock we must talk about, PVR Cinemas, has bought about 69% stake in Cinemax. That makes it almost the monopoly in the multiplex sector. Stocks completely soared after the announcement. That chart is on your screen. How much value do you expect to come out of this this acquisition?
I think no, it's fairly valued. I don't see such a huge upside on the immediate this thing. You know, they would have to leverage on this energy to see some cash flows happen.
If I was holding the stock so long, would you say get some profits off the table for the time being?
Yes, you could. You know, this is a huge watershed development in the company's fortune, and you should participate in that.
It's time to pull up Prakash's report card from the last time he was on this show. L&T Finance, recommended about a year ago when it was trading at 47 rupees with a target of 68 rupees. That stock is currently at 75 rupees. Well, Prakash, first of all, congratulations on a very successful recommendation. Thank you for bringing that stock to us. Would you recommend that we put some, book some profits and take some money off the table, or do you think there's even further of a run up here for the stock?
Yeah, given the recent developments, I think the stock does have much more headroom. Not as much as the 47 to 75 kind of levels that we've seen, but over a period of time, this is a stock that will become a core financial services player, and you would need to have something like this in your portfolio. So don't be in a hurry to get out of it. You could sell out of it if you need the money, but otherwise, you know, the challenge is going to be where do you put that money if you were to book profits in such good stocks. So I would recommend stay put, continue with it.
Is there a new target that you'd like to give us, revised up from?
I think 90. It should fetch a level of mid-90s sometime by March. In fact, that could happen much faster.
All right, a new target there on L&T Finance. We're looking at mid-90s from the earlier 68 rupees. It's time for one more question. Raghunath has written in, and he tells us he just retired and he went through all of his old papers and found 100 shares of Reliance Petroleum that he bought nearly 20 years ago. Now, he says obviously he's missed out on all of the earnings and other freebies that go with owning Reliance shares. He wants to know how he can get back into the game, and is there any way that he can use these share certificates now. First, he has to transfer them into the DMAT form. But we do know that Reliance Petroleum, there was a swap with Reliance Industries, 1:16. So that would give him about 6 or 7 shares of Reliance Industries.
Yeah. So, in fact, he doesn't need to put them into DMAT right away. He could write to the company, get those share certificates if he wants of Reliance Industry. That he is definitely eligible for. But a lot of benefits which Reliance Industries would have given out through corporate action, especially dividends, that I don't think he is going to be eligible for.
So
because
he's missed those.
Yeah, because beyond a particular number of years, I think it's 5 years, all that goes into the investor protection fund. So companies cannot keep it on their books. So that he may not be eligible for, but at least he has the thing of owning those 6 shares or whatever number of shares he will get out of that. That he certainly should be getting.
Alright, so if he has about 6 or 7 shares of RIL worth 5,600 right now, what's your call on RIL at about roughly 800 rupees where it's trading?
Reliance is going to be a market performer, not an outright outperformer. But it's ideal for a long-term investor, no doubt. So if he gets those shares in reward of this exchange of Reliance Petroleum, should be happy and hold on to them.
Alright, so you have RIL now in your portfolio. Prakash, they're telling you what you should be doing with the share certificates that you hold. And if you want any more help with your stocks, feel free to write to us. There's an email ID at the bottom of your screen.